Mecklenburg. They'll move him around from linebacker. They'll have him at defensive end, and they just seem to move around him as if he's the hub of that defense. A 12th round draft pick a couple of years ago, and he's turned into a fine Pro Bowl football player. It's an exciting football team, a team that's turned on Denver over the entire existence of its franchise, and they have fans from the blue-collar workers to the very famous and celebrated Leon Uris. Recently wrote a guest column in the Denver Post in which he said, "Being a Denver Broncos fan is like being married to my lovely wife, Joe. It's a whole lot of happiness. It's sometimes agony, but baby, it is never dull." It sounds like a good marriage, and we know it's an exciting football team. We think we're going to enjoy our game. Al, not too much happiness for the Pittsburgh Steelers following that opening loss.
I don't have to tell you what the radio call-in shows sound like in this town at this time. Part of the problem, of course, is that there is such a high standard. The Steelers are the only team in NFL history to win 4 Super Bowls. Last year, with a losing mark, their first in 71, they missed the playoffs for only the 3rd time in the last 14 years. They had a very bad preseason, winning only 1 game, and then they were embarrassed last week by Seattle. Final score 30-0. They are probably not that bad, but the people around here want to know if they're any good at all, and if they can contend in the relatively weak but improving AFC Central Division. I think the key to any Steelers success this season will be the quarterback, Mark Malone. He's been here long enough, and it's time to prove himself. He was the #1 draft choice out of Arizona State in 1980. He had to wait in the wings for years for Terry Bradshaw to retire, and now he's finally been given his shot in the last couple of seasons, but has yet to develop the consistency necessary. The Steelers are hopeful he can begin that guidance tonight. And the Steelers to receive the opening kick as Rich Karlis kicks off for the Broncos, who come off that exciting 38-36 victory. And the breeze here at Three Rivers Stadium blows the ball off the tee. And that's the response from the crowd. So, to a very limited extent, an auspicious beginning for the Steelers tonight. And now Karlis comes forward again, and we're underway in Pittsburgh. Good deep kick, and no run back as Donnie Elder takes care of it in the end zone, and here comes Mark Malone now to lead the Steelers. Malone completing just 50% of his passes last season, and he missed about 40% of the year with a dislocated toe. Last week, a terrible week at Seattle. He was 9 out of 27, worst start of his career. And the Steelers last week generated only 146 yards total offense. So here we go with Pollard and Abercrombie, the running backs, and it's Abercrombie on 1st down, getting nowhere. It'll be 2nd down and 10. Louis Wright comes up to make the tackle. So with Malone, the quarterback, the Denver defense, with Rulon Jones in there tonight despite rib problems, the good linebackers, Mecklenburg, to whom Frank alluded early on, and Wright, the mainstay of that secondary.
Offense, penalties decline, 2nd down.
Ray Penny, illegal motion on the first play, and it was declined. Since it was no gain, Denver takes the play, and the Steelers have it 2nd down, 10. Pollard and Abercrombie, and both have been injured in preseason. Pollard, only 2. Pollard coming off arthroscopic knee surgery, meningitis earlier this year, and a hip pointer.
Al, I think we should point out very early on, so much was made of the surgery, the ruptured disc of Joe Montana, the San Francisco 49er quarterback. We have just been in touch with officials on the West Coast. The damage to the disc was not as extensive as they thought it might be. They, as a matter of fact, will place him on injury reserve, and it could be that he might even be back later in the season. We'll update that if we hear any more from the West Coast.
3rd down and 8. Stallworth in motion. He and Lips were both to the right side, and Malone gets sacked back at the 10-yard line by Simon Fletcher. Number 73, the 2nd-year man out of Houston, and it doesn't take long for the booing to begin. Home opener, first series, and the fans let him have it.
Watch number 73, and this is what Denver likes to do. Dan Reeves will bring in Simon Fletcher. Here he is, getting the sack, and Greg Cragen on the pass rush situation, and it pays off here. And actually, Mark Malone last week, Al, had a lot of time to throw the football. He just didn't connect with those 9 of 27.
High snap. Newsom comes down with it and gets the kick away, and it's a good kick. Taking it at the 39 is Wilhite. A penalty marker is It's into Pittsburgh territory. Gets back to the 41, but a flag was thrown back near the line of scrimmage. And the referee tonight is Bob McElwee.
As usual, we'll have the man downfield, and I would suspect that Denver will want the football. They are in Pittsburgh territory at the 43-yard line.
So McElwee has given us the call. They discussed the options with Tom Jackson. And he says let the offense take over.
Number 36 on the kicking team. Penalty is declined. First down.
First and 10, Denver ball, Pittsburgh.
So the Broncos take over at the 42-yard line. The penalty was against David Hughes, the running back just picked up, playing on the special teams. And meanwhile, here come the Broncos at the Steeler 43-yard line. And Elway to put it up right away. And throws it away. Intended, I believe, for Clint Sampson, who is taking Vance Johnson's place, and they were not on the same page. Sampson was going in, Steve Watson was going deep, and Elway threw a sideline pattern. There are John's figures for last season when he threw more than 600 passes.
When you take a Vance Johnson out of the offense, as he was taken out with that knee injury in the opening game against the Raiders, you lose a lot of things. One of them is the speed. Mark Jackson, a rookie from Purdue, has some speed, but they'll have to think differently without Vance Johnson in the lineup than they did with him in the lineup.
Second and 10, and the Broncos out of the shotgun. Elway, short roll, comes back the other way, looking for Watson, who reaches but can't make the catch. He'd gotten out in front. David Lettle, meanwhile, put the pressure on Elway and decked him as John got rid of it, and Watson, the intended receiver, covered on the play by Harvey Clayton.
John Elway bought the time back there, as he will all night. He'll move around there. He got the time even under the pressure to get the pass off. Watson, never known for his speed, just couldn't get there. And also shaken up on that play and still limping but staying in the ball game is Gerald Wilhite. And Elway was also smashed.
So third down, 10, Elway out of the shotgun. The crowd exhorts the defense as Elway throws and nearly has it intercepted. Almost picked off by Eric Williams. Intended for Steve Sewell.
Elway had to get rid of the football. You see Hinkle, bottom of your screen, coming. You see 41 coming on the safety blitz. That's Sheffield, the rookie. Elway had to throw the football. He tried to hurry it into the tight end, and it was almost picked off. There's Sewell working along the line. It got into the pattern. He actually was open, and Eric Williams, with the pressure, almost picked that off.
So the Broncos can't pick up a first down, and back to receive is Rick Woods with Jack Wheel standing in his own 43-yard line. And angling it for the near side. And it gets there. And they'll line it up, and the Steelers will take over at the 13-yard line. And the crowd doesn't like the spot. They thought it went out closer to the 20. So the Steelers take over again. We're just underway at Three Rivers, Denver and Pittsburgh, and we're scoreless.
Introducing McDonald's NFL Kickoff Payoff.
Oh boy, a new game at McDonald's! I'm so excited! How do you play?
Collect trading cards of all your favorite NFL stars.
Another card!
Each card's a winner. Win a McDonald's sandwich, fries, or Coca-Cola.
New winners every week! But you got only 1 week to turn in your winning cards, so hustle!
NFL Kickoff Payoff.
Follow me! At McDonald's! I know a shortcut!
The legendary Mercedes-Benz SL Coupe Roadster. To every reason you ever had for wanting to drive it, you can now add one more. A mighty 5.6-liter light alloy V8 engine. 227 horsepower. Infinite driving excitement. The Mercedes-Benz 560 SL.
For 3 years, Bryant has been paying people back for their highest month's gas bill. This year, we're doubling the deal. 2 months of free gas when you buy our Plus 90 gas furnace. We can do this for 2 reasons. Gas is economical, and the Plus 90 is so efficient, it uses less gas. So cash in on our double deal. Call 800-HOT-SALE for your Bryant dealer. And if you get a busy signal, call again.
Gas, America's best energy value.
So no score early on, first quarter, as the Pittsburgh Steelers were forced to punt. The Broncos took over in Steeler territory. They couldn't move. Chuck Noll in his 18th season, the only coach with 4 Super Bowl rings. But as to be expected in modern society, I suppose, somewhat under fire, at least by the fans here, who've been disappointed in the way the Steelers have played through the preseason, and certainly last week at Seattle. Malone on 1st and 10. Throwing toward the near side and completing it at the 29-yard line to Louis Lips, who was shut out last week, and Louis Wright covers him on the play. And they
hard to believe he was shut out, because he is one of the finest receivers to come up in many years. And here he works against Louis Wright and makes Louis back up and think deep, and then plants that foot, breaks it to the outside. Louis Wright was right there. Good defensive coverage, as a matter of fact, against the speedster Wright, because against Lips, because if you do not cover him that way, he's going to beat you deep. He is the big man now. John Stallworth mostly works underneath, and he has adapted also to that role.
Meanwhile, they are going to review. When you see that walkie-talkie, that's the cue that Al Conway, who is the umpire, is talking to Paul Trapinski upstairs. And again, this does come under the auspices of the replay official. It's his call to make.
2 things to remember here. Did he come down with both feet in bounds, and was he hit that forced him out of bounds, and he was unable to come down with both feet in bounds?
I thought both feet were in. We'll see it again from this angle. I thought he...
By the replay official, the play stands. First down.
It's the right call. You can see it. 1 foot down, and the other he gets his toe down.
Nobody is better, by the way, at doing that than Louis Lips. He does it well in the end zone. They like to, when they get down around the 20-yard line, they like to use him in the end zone, and he has done that over and over in his brief career.
On 1st and 10 from the 29, it's Pollard out to the 33. Tom Jackson makes the stop. They are not what you would call scintillating running backs here in Pittsburgh, Frank, but they do get the job done. Pollard and Abercrombie. The question is health.
Well, last year they gained over 1,800 yards between them, but again, it is health. Abercrombie, of course, with a hip pointer coming into tonight, and you already mentioned the fact that he had meningitis. Pollard recovering from July 15th knee surgery, and what Denver wants to do is to stop the running game if they can, and nevertheless, Pittsburgh is being able to move the ball, and if they can stop the running game, they can take away the play-action pass. That's what they like to do.
2nd and 6, and it's dropped by Lips.
And you better cover that man.
Covered by Wright, but it was right there. So an uncharacteristic drop for a man, as we said, held without a reception for only the 2nd time in his 3-year pro career last week at Seattle.
Again, Louis Wright covering him right there. Bump and run. Now he has to let go at 5 yards. That's the last area in which he can hit him. A ball that he should have caught with his kinds of hands. But again, Louis Wright with good coverage on one of the best receivers in this game.
So 3rd down and 6, and Rich Ehrenberg comes in. That's he in the slot to the right, and he's playing with a slightly separated shoulder. Stallworth comes in motion. He and Lips are both to the right side. Malone looking over the middle and underthrows it at the 50-yard line. Intended for Lips, so he goes Louis' way 3 times on this drive, but the Steelers are forced to punt again.
Well, Lips was getting single coverage on all 3 attempts to him, so Malone was going to the right man. He just did not get the ball there on that occasion, and the time before, it was a pass that Lips should have caught.
Wilhite back to receive. Newsom, who had a bad year last year, but won the job back and had a good week outside of 1 block in Seattle, gets off a poor kick, but it takes a good Steeler bounce. And I believe it was touched a moment ago, but, or have they? Yes, they have. At the 22-yard line, he dropped the beanbag, so even though the Steelers down it at the 13, Donnie Elder winds up costing them 9 yards as he makes contact at the 22-yard line. And back comes Elway and the Broncos.
8 long years of development have created the Mercedes-Benz 300E. It moves from 0 to 55 in a stunning 7.5 seconds. common sedan engineering into a new dimension. And it returns to zero with computerized ABS anti-lock brakes. The 300e sedan.
Just as proud as the people who are drinking it today. Where I come from, folks don't say too much, but you know where they stand. A place where doing what you say you will is part of being a man. Where people understand what's right and wrong, and you know they're sincere. It's where your word is your word, a friend's a friend, Miller's a beer. Miller's made the American way, born and brewed in the USA. Just as proud as the people who are drinking it today.
Miller contains no additives or preservatives. Purity you can see, quality you can taste.
Miller's made the American way.
The Cincinnati Bengals, guided by the hot hand of Boomer Esiason. The Cleveland Browns, Bernie Kosar hopes he can match the firepower. An ABC Thursday night NFL special.
Danny Reeves, the former Mr. Everything Dallas Cowboy back and a longtime coach under Tom Landry there, knows that the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are not flamboyant, but they can beat you. He was 13-3 in '84 with the Denver Bronco team, and the Pittsburgh Steelers came and beat them in Denver to knock them out of the playoffs. He has a lot of respect for them.
From the 22-yard line, they said Winder in motion and give it to Lang. And Lang out past the 30 to the 31-yard line. We know about Elway, of course, and we know about the Denver receivers, even minus Vance Johnson, as Lang goes hobbling off the field. The big question about the Denver offense, of course, is the running game. Can they get that in gear? Winder had a 1,000-yard year a couple of years back, but was besieged by injuries last year. And now Lang goes hobbling off here, and Gerald Wilhite is in there in place of him, number 47, with Winder the tailback in this formation. 2nd and 1. Winder goes in motion again, and the Steelers jump, and this should be a free play unless it was whistled dead as Wilhite takes it out to the 36. In any event, it should be a first down for Denver.
That 9-yard run, by the way, by Gene Lang.
Tight end, number 88.
He was drawn off. Clarence Kay drew him off.
Kay drawing off the Steelers, so they'll back the Broncos up. But that 9-yard pickup by Lang a moment ago was longer than any run they had in their Raider game. It'll give you an idea how tough that game was.
You know, one of the odd things about that game, Frank, is that when you looked at the score 38-36, you figured that the Broncos must have picked up 450, 500 yards total offense. Actually, only 290. Got some breaks, ran a fumble in for a touchdown.
And they got some very opportune penalties against the Raiders.
2nd down and 6. And with Sewell going in motion on a reverse, Winder hands it to Sewell, coming back this way. Sewell moves to the outside of the 30 and takes it to the 35-yard line where he's stopped by Harvey Clayton. So Sewell, the man who threw the option touchdown pass back to Elway last week, he can do a lot of things out there.
Good all-around athlete out of Oklahoma, #1 draft pick a year ago. He can throw the ball, he can catch the ball, he can run with the football. And Danny Reeves believes in the gadget plays. He has several of them. You're going to see them in almost every game. What it does, it makes you think. It slows your defense down in their pursuit. They can't look at a play developing and think it's going to be a sweep, because something like that's going to happen. You're going to come back against the grain. So it just makes the defense hesitate for just a moment, and sometimes you can get a big play out of it.
He sends Watson in motion, sends Watson deep, and then throws over the middle underneath to Gerald Wilhite, who takes it to the 43-yard line. Wilhite has always been a good receiver. David Little, number 50, the linebacker out of Florida, the man filling the spot once occupied by Jack Lambert, makes the tackle.
Elway was thinking deep. He had Clint Sampson on a fly pattern, watched it develop. He had the time, and when he ran out of time and the coverage was on Sampson, he just dumped it off underneath the Wilhite.
Broncos and the Steelers with no score, 9 minutes and 25 seconds to play in the first quarter. Broncos 1-0, Steelers come in 0-1 as the two teams wrap up week 2. Wilhite in motion. Sammy Winder through the middle, past the 45 and fumbles the ball at the 47-yard line. And the Steelers have it. So a big break as Eric Williams comes up from the safety spot. There he is, the man who nearly had the interception before, winds up with a fumble recovery.
Look at it again. It's trying to get through the line of scrimmage and all that traffic. Winder tries to break it loose. Hinkle was there and batted it out of his hands, and Eric Williams was all over it. We'll see it better from the reverse angle, I'm sure. Here's the handoff. Hinkle coming from his linebacking position on the right side. Gets a hand in there. Out it comes, and Eric Williams is there. So the Steelers taking a page out of the play of the Denver Broncos defense. They get the turnover, and they get it in Bronco territory.
1st and 10, Pittsburgh at the Denver 47-yard line. And they have Hughes in there, and he goes in motion, and he blocks for Abercrombie, who takes it to the 45-yard line. Another look at Williams, who's been in on 2 big plays already tonight, the missed intercept and then the fumble recovery. He had an interception last week against Seattle in a game in which the Steelers, as you see, were across the 50-yard line only twice. Never so much as attempted a field goal.
And there was a long time between crossings, too. I think their first drive took them over their deepest penetration.
2nd and 8, they give it to Hughes, who gets to the 40-yard line. David Hughes, the former Seahawk, waved by them, and with Abercrombie and Pollard hurting and Ehrenberg with that separated shoulder, they had to go to the waiver wire for Hughes out of Seattle, and then they picked up another running back this week, Chuck Sanders, who'd been released by San Diego. And this move's uncharacteristic of Chuck Noll.
It is. He had no other choice. We've already talked about Abercrombie, the problems he has had. Septic meningitis, Pollard with the problem knee. And a couple of weeks ago, Noll was saying, I'm going to need a truckload of running backs if things don't change around here.
3rd and 3, they have Weegie Thompson in as an extra receiver. He takes the pass and gets the first down. The 6'6", 210-pounder out of Florida State is stopped by Louis Wright, and the Steelers convert on 3rd down. It's 1st and 10.
Key to that was the pass protection. They gave Malone time, and we'll watch Weegie. He's man-to-man now with Louis Wright, number 20. They are working on Louis. They are getting him in a man-to-man situation. That drive to the inside by Weegie just carried Louis with him. He was able to break it back out, and the time that Malone was given enabled him to complete that ball. It's a slow developing play.
1st and 10, Steelers at the Bronco 33. No score. 7:12 to go in the period, and the pass intended for Abercrombie is incomplete as Malone goes down. Tom Jackson, who is the oldest starting linebacker in the league at the age of 35, decked them.
And a couple of gray hairs in here tonight. Donnie Shell, the strong safety for the Steelers, is also 34. He's the oldest starting defensive back.
Second and 10. Steelers at the Bronco 33. Steelers trying to cash in off the fumble by Sammy Winder. Abercrombie, and nothing happening over that way. Andre Townsend is there, number 61, the 3rd-year man out of Mississippi. And Hughes comes back in now for Pittsburgh, along with Ehrenberg, as Abercrombie goes out on 3rd and long. It's 3rd and 9 at the 32-yard line. Calvin Sweeney is in the game, and he's wide left, but Malone looks the other way and throws, and it's nearly picked off. Lips on a crossing pattern got hung up, and Ehrenberg out of the backfield was in traffic, and it was nearly picked off by number 22, Tony Lilly, the nickelback.
Lilly, who has really been pressing the free safety, Steve Foley, was right in there. He should have picked it off. There's no question. What it really was a trailer underneath the Ehrenberg. He was coming in behind Louis Lips and John Stallworth. Stallworth actually was the open man, and Malone again could feel the pressure. You saw it coming in from behind him on the right side. Well, he could feel the hot breath, and he knew he had to get rid of it.
Now, Gary Anderson, one of the best, but a 50-yard attempt, his career best is 55, and the kick is long enough. but it is wide. He had the distance, but not the accuracy, and thus the Steelers come off the field, not able to capitalize on the Winder fumble. 6:20 to go in a scoreless first period.
Just as proud as the people who are drinking it today. Steelers say the American way, born and brewed in the USA. Just as proud as the people who are drinking it today. Steelers say the American way.
Miller contains no additives or preservatives. Purity you can see, quality you can taste.
Steelers say the American way. To know no boundaries, to let yourself run free. To know no boundaries is what the world should be.
Wherever there are investment opportunities, Merrill Lynch is there with the help you need to make the most of them. Because at Merrill Lynch, we believe your world should know no boundaries.
To know no boundaries.
The Mercedes-Benz Driving Simulator, a laboratory that moves. Computerized hydraulics producing realistic driving forces. Computerized projectors creating a lifelike driving world. Allowing engineers to analyze the responses of ordinary drivers in extraordinary moments. Duplicating any driving situation in total safety. Mercedes-Benz continues to learn the secrets of automotive science. And the automotive world continues to learn from Mercedes-Benz.
I'm David Hartman in the Philippines. Now that Marcos is gone, can Corazon Aquino make democracy work here? We'll learn more this week on Good Morning America.
Quarterback Mark Malone probably talking to Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator upstairs, who found the only man on that last play that was double covered. Wide open was Stallworth, and out of the backfield, Ehrenberg had attracted a pair of defenders, and Malone tried to force it in there, almost had it picked off, and they had to settle for that long field goal attempt.
1st and 10 as Elway throws on first down to Sampson, who's taking the place of Vance Johnson, and he gets it out to the 40-yard line. Stopped by Harvey Clayton. Sampson will see a lot of action now in Johnson's absence. He got a chance to start a couple of years back, but couldn't maintain it. Dropped passes and was pretty much relegated to a reserve role, but the injury has now changed that. He did have a good night against the Steelers last year in the meeting between these two teams, catching 4 passes, including 1 for a touchdown.
They have him in there when they really have a lot of speed, and a rookie from Purdue named Mark Jackson. They have Sampson in there, I think, primarily because he has the experience.
2nd and 2 as they send Sewell in motion, and Lang pitches it back in the 3-flicker to Elway, who throws back to Sewell, and it's a first down.
Well-designed play. That was designed for the touchdown, but it also, as we mentioned earlier, being one of the gadget plays, it had a checkoff. And Elway looks quickly to Watson, who had taken it deep. The first look, you'll see Elway take his downfield. That was to see Watson, who he was well covered. The Steelers reading it all the way, but he had that checkoff man. In other words, he didn't have to throw it away, and he was able to go to the checkoff man, Sewell, and still get the first down.
Gotta love the Broncos already tonight. Double reverse, flea flicker. They pick up the first down, 1st and 10.
Makes you hesitate, Al, on defense.
At their
Very
own
effective.
49-yard line as Sammy Winder doesn't go anywhere. And it'll be 2nd down and 12. David Little is there, and also Edmund Nelson, 5th-year man out of Auburn.
You know, the Steelers were 7-9, a losing season for the first time since 1972 last year, but they were rated 6th defensively in the entire league. Where they had their problem was getting the points up on the board. They're 12th against the rush, but they were 2nd against the pass, and yet they didn't do that well in sack totals, having only 36 when the Giants led the league with 68. But they're a fine pass defensive team. Great linebacking on the outside.
Elway out of the shotgun. There was movement in the line, but no flag, and Elway gets sacked back at the 40-yard line.
Whistle had blown. They were all over Elway. Steeler fans all excited. They thought they might have got the football back. Somebody ripped it out of there, and Gary Dunn came out of the pile with the ball, but the sack will be back at around the 40-yard line. This time, John couldn't get away. See, linebacker Robin Cole, number 56, is there. The Steelers are using a lot of blitzing, and it is dangerous because Elway can spin away from it, and you'll usually find individual coverage. There's Gary Dunn covering the ball. The whistle had blown when Elway was in the grasp. But they brought Brian Hinkle and they brought Robin Cole on the blitz.
Third down, 19. Denver from its own 40. No score. 4:25 to go in the period. Noisy crowd. Elway shouting to be heard.
Safety blitz.
Flag down as the pass is completed to the 50-yard line to Sampson. He is well shy of the first down. It looked like sort of an uncoordinated snap, and I'm wondering if the crowd didn't have an effect right there. You can see Elway shouting to be heard, and offside is the call, but it's against Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh was coming with a safety blitz, if you will. Actually, they were bringing Chris Sheffield, the rookie from Albany State. Watch 41, bottom of your screen now. Somebody got a little jump on it, and I think it was the rookie,
Offside,
Sheffield.
Number 41, defense.
He was just a little eager, filling in for Dwayne Woodruff. And that will keep it alive for Denver.
We saw Woodruff get hurt in that preseason game we did in Dallas, and he got hurt on the punt return unit.
Tough injury to Woodruff, one of their fine defensive backs, probably the best one they have, but a great opportunity for young Chris Sheffield, a rookie free agent from Albany State.
Third down and 14. They have to get to the Steeler 41, and Elway looking for a lot more to Watson. Watson comes back but can't make the catch. Harvey Clayton was surrounding him, but Watson was able to come back on the underthrown ball and nearly come down with it.
You got to love Steve Watson. He does not have the speed to be doing what he's been doing. Now, this is from the reverse angle, you'll see Watson come back to it. That play designed, by the way, to get Elway out in the flat. The coverage there by Harvey Clayton. This is a ball he certainly should have caught because he came back and Clayton had overrun the ball. But again, the play designed well. We're seeing some unusual offensive plays by Denver, but I said at the very top of the show they are an unusual football team. That was a rolling pocket, if you will, and Elway was behind it. Just couldn't get the ball quite far enough to Watson.
Jack Wheel, and that is the way he pronounces it, W-E-I-L, and Rick Woods is back to receive at his own 15-yard line. 3:43 to go in the period.
That's a beauty.
Taken at the 12 by Woods. Past the 20, out of bounds at the 24-yard line. And so Malone and the Steelers take over with 3 minutes and 33 seconds to go in the first quarter. In Pittsburgh, the Broncos and the Steelers, 0-0.
IBM presents You Make the Call. Jim McMahon of the Bears passes to Dennis McKinnon, who deflects the ball into the end zone where it is intercepted by David Greenwood of the Buccaneers, who then rolls untouched into the field of play. Now you make the call. Where do you spot the ball?
Computers? Who's got time to figure out how to use them?
That's how the owners of a clothing store, father and son, felt about personal computers until they got one. And a catering business until they got one. We're IBM, and we've seen some very skeptical people become very enthusiastic. And that makes us proud, because we have more computers helping more small businesses than anybody. IBM personal computers. Small business is getting big on them.
What call did you make? When a defender intercepts in the end zone and rolls into the field of play, the ball is spotted in the field of play.
It's been a long day, Walter. But I know you still got something left. Yeah, you've got energy from 100% whole wheat. Wheaties energy. Hey there, Walter. Turn it on. Wheaties keeps you keeping on. Full is all that good whole wheat. Now go tell your mama what the big boy eats.
So Denver and Pittsburgh are scoreless as the Steelers take over at their own 25-yard line. Chuck Noll took over in 69. Well, they won in 13, Frank, and then all of a sudden the turnaround.
Not bad training. He played for Paul Brown, had his first coaching job under Sid Gilman with San Diego, and then worked under Don Shula before he came here. But he was 1-13 that first year, but he turned it all around after the season of 72. 4 Super Bowl championships.
Steelers 1st and 10 from the Pittsburgh 25-yard line. And Malone flushed out, throws on the run, going deep for Lips, tipped and incomplete. One-on-one with Steve Wilson.
Louis Lips again, the intended receiver, Steve Wilson, with fine coverage, chased out of the pocket there by the linebacker, Jim Ryan, and then just underthrown a little bit. Lips tried to get back in it. Wilson, who's only 5'10", was able to get up and knock it away. See it again. Just underthrown a little bit, but Malone, under pressure, chased out of the pocket by Jim Ryan. A lot of blitzing tonight on the part of both teams.
2nd and 10 with Stallworth wide left and Lips wide to the right. Abercrombie is the eye back, and Abercrombie drops it at the 25-yard line, and Jim Ryan was right there to belt him anyway. Well, quarterbacks very much in the news. We told you about Montana, and if you've not heard yesterday, the Indianapolis Colts, who picked up Gary Hogeboom from the Dallas Cowboys in the offseason, second game of the season, Orange Bowl, the fumble right there, and then Hogeboom, as it turns out, very unfortunately for him and for the Colts, picks it up, turns it into a good gain, but then Lyle Blackwood wrestles him down, and as it turned out, even though it doesn't look like it was that serious when he got up on the sideline, a separated shoulder and enough of a separation that he's gone for the year.
That's a real tough break for Indianapolis, and of course Hogeboom, he really had a great opportunity there. Unhappy, of course, in Dallas for the past couple of years, and Indianapolis a much improving football team.
Meanwhile, the referee has just informed the crowd that the clock is not operating at the moment. It is stuck on 3:32, so the time is now being kept on the field. We're down to about the 3-minute mark of the first period. 3rd and 10. Malone under pressure. Screen is set up. Hughes makes the catch and gets belted at the 24-yard line. David Hughes, and that's Mecklenburg, number 77, along with Randy Robbins.
Steelers coming with the screen, trying to make the defense of the Denver Broncos think a little bit. They got the pass pressure that they anticipated they were getting, but they were also able to cover the screen. And once again, it's Carl Mecklenburg, who is literally all over the field for the Broncos.
Wilhite is back at his own 30-yard line. And again, Newsom to kick. Good snap. They put the pressure on from the outside, but he gets the kick away. And it's fielded at the 24-yard line by Wilhite. And he takes it back out to the 39-yard line, where Carr is in on the tackle. So thus far, it's been a Ziegfeld Follies first quarter. 1-2-3 kick. 52-yard punt, 12-yard return. A snow goose right there.
Here's something. Same year as Elway was picked number 1 by Baltimore, Mecklenburg was picked number 12. Now, there are very few 12th-round draft picks still around, but Mecklenburg is a Pro Bowler from a year ago, led the team in sacks a year ago. They move him all over from linebacker to defensive end to inside, and he is a method player. He gets excited, he fires up the entire defense. He is the hub of it, particularly on the pass rush.
1st and 10 from the 39-yard line. With Sewell in motion out of a split back formation, and Winder taking it on a sweep and cutting it back inside, and Sammy takes it out to the 45-yard line for a gain of about 6. It'll be 2nd and 4.
Just good running by Winder. We mentioned he was a 1,000-yard rusher a couple of years ago. Here he is taking perhaps a little too wide, but breaks it back against the grain. Got a block by Mark Cooper out in front of it. The flag is down, but we're watching Winder as he spun and twisted for about 7 yards.
Illegal block, number 30, offense. Still first down.
That's Steve Sewell, so that negates it. And it will be first down back at the 29-yard line after the 10-yard march-off, 1st and 20. Well, Thursday will be not far from here, Cleveland, where the Browns, who came from behind yesterday to win over Houston, meet the Bengals, who came from behind to win in overtime over Buffalo. 8 o'clock start Eastern time, Thursday.
Bernie Kosar and Boomer Esiason on the quarterbacks that you will see on Thursday night. And Kosar really coming into his own.
1st and 20, Elway, and it's in and out of the hands of Gene Lang. It was right there for him. Darrell Sims a disappointment last year. The number 1 pick in '85 out of Wisconsin put the pressure on Elway, forcing him to get rid of it.
I don't know what you can do if you're a quarterback. You can't catch it for him, and Elway had it right on target. Got to put it out in front of him a little bit, but one you most certainly should have caught. Probably saved quite a shot, Gene Lang did, because Brian Hinkle, one of the heavy hitters for the Steelers, number 53, was really zeroing in on him.
2nd and 20. Elway is 3 out of 8, 25 yards. A very slow start. Sewell is in motion, bottom of the screen. And Elway under pressure again, and Sewell drops it. So Elway is 3 out of 9 with a couple of errors.
He's had about 4 drops on him now. Watson had a deep one a while ago. A few moments ago it was Lang, and now it's Sewell. Danny Reeves. He used to be involved in a lot of option plays with the Dallas Cowboys. He was a University of South Carolina quarterback in their Hall of Fame down there, as a matter of fact, but went on to become a player coach. That's hard to do for the Dallas Cowboys. And in 1981 was tapped to take over the Denver Broncos from very popular Red Miller, who had been to the Super Bowl a couple of years prior to that, but he's done a great job.
3rd down and 20 from the 29-yard line. Elway protected this time, screen to Wilhite, and he gets tripped from behind. A great tackle by Brian Hinkle. Got his foot and got him down. And so the Broncos are sputtering at the outset, and Elway's not being helped by drop balls as he comes off the field, and the punting unit comes in again.
Great crowd, isn't it? They're watching a team that was shut out, and I'm sure they watched it on television, 30-0, first shutout in the opening day for the Pittsburgh Steelers in, 53 years? And here they're really making the noise for them.
In the history of their franchise. Wheeled to kick for the 3rd time, and back is Rick Woods at his own 29. Again, the time is being kept on the field. We are in what I would assume is the final 2 minutes of the first quarter. 29-yard line. Woods brings it back out to the 34-yard line.
Woods is back there, in case you're wondering, because of a hamstring that has been troubling Louis Litz, one of the dangerous return men in this game. They decided they'd just let him work at the wide receiver position. And so we're watching Woods back on the punts tonight.
USC and Frank Gifford is no longer there to take on 9th-ranked Baylor. Or Clemson taking on Georgia. Our CFA presentation. College football today begins at 3 Eastern time on Saturday. The Trojans did rather well for you on Saturday night.
All right, and you're right. And I have been there in a long time. We are told there are 54 seconds remaining in this quarter. Again, the official time being kept on the field, and we'll try and stay as close as we can to it.
1st and 10. Again, the Steelers go to the air on 1st down. Malone has great protection, then has to dump it off to Preston Gothard, and he takes it to the 44-yard line. And if you follow the Steelers, you know they almost never throw to the tight end. They didn't last week. They did only a dozen times all of last year. And Malone with a smile as everybody deep was covered, and he hits Gothard, the tight end.
They didn't want to then either. They were covered downfield. Techno really believes that he will get a different man in there when he wants to use a pass that would go to a tight end. And that man has been Ehrenberg, who is playing tonight sparingly with a very sore shoulder. But he gets rather defensive when you ask him about the production of his tight ends. And you don't really like to get him too defensive. He could put those steelies on you and makes you feel like an idiot.
He's going to get a little defensive right here because Malone, I think, has been forced to take a timeout. I say I think because maybe it's the end of the quarter. It is a timeout. Again, with the clock not operating, we have to rely on getting our information from the field. And so even though the clock shows 0, Malone did take a timeout. There are a few seconds remaining in the first quarter.
We talked about Chuck Noll. He's right in the middle with the headset there. In all his years here with the Steelers, he has never been one who has gone out and made the big trade. And when you ask him about that, he'll say to you, well, why do you want to inherit other people's problems? And that's what you primarily get when you make the trades. And the draft has not been spectacular over the past few years, and a lot of that has been because, well, the players who have been maturing right now came out of the years when Chuck Noll was 1, 2, 3, or 4, and drafting way down on the list. He'd be drafted 25, 26, 27, and those are the kinds of players that, while they are number 1 draft picks, they are not the top picks in the country. So he's rather defensive about it. I like what he says about defense when we ask him about that. How important he thought defense was, he said, well, before you win it, you have to not lose it. And I think when you look at a Chuck Noll team, you think defense first and offense later.
And it's been that way for years. Meanwhile, running and passing, oddly enough, tonight, the ball has been in the air 22 times and on the ground only 10 times. There are 3 seconds, they are telling us, 3 seconds left in the quarter, and Malone had to use that timeout. And the fact that the clock wasn't operating may have cost him there, otherwise he would have let the quarter run out. Meanwhile, they get the first down as Abercrombie takes it across the 45 to the 47-yard line. But Malone, unable to see a clock, had to take a timeout before the quarter. And there's the gun, so we've played 1. Pittsburgh and Denver are scoreless at Three Rivers. Minutes is what it says right now. So we'll keep an eye on it at the outset here as it.
And along we have 22 passes in that first quarter. Let's take a look at the numbers, very close. Had the 1 turnover, and of course the 1 long field goal attempt on the part of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But coaches will always tell you that when you ask them, what do you want to do? Oh, we want to establish the running game. Then they go out and throw the ball 22 times in 1 quarter.
Maybe not Coryell. Second down and 8 as Malone goes deep looking for Lips and incomplete. Lips reaching for it, and he was covered by Louis Wright. That's a pretty good matchup right there. You've got Lips emerging as a superstar, and Louis Wright, who's been around for 12 years.
Good coverage. Now watch Louis Wright. He's right there. Lips had given him an in move just prior to that, and Wright didn't buy it at all. They continue to work on Louis Wright, and he has had a lot of single coverage, and he's come up with a good job on almost every occasion.
In terms of injuries, too, the Broncos missing Haynes back there. He's on injured reserve.
With a full thigh muscle, they should get him back in a couple of weeks.
On 3rd down and 8, it's Malone throwing and incomplete, intended for Ehrenberg, who had to dive for it, and the crowd gets on the Steeler offense again. They love the defense. All of the cheering has been for the D, but no for the O.
I'll tell you, 9 of 27, as Malone was a week ago. Those passes you have to complete. Hey, that could have well been a first down. It should have been a first down.
Strange sort of reaction, wasn't it? Was that a grin? As he looked at Ehrenberg. I'm not sure you can afford to be grinning when you haven't scored in 5 periods. At the 16-yard line, Wilhite receives the punt. And from there, will the Broncos commence their next drive as Elway gets a final word from Reeves and heads back in.
Holy smokes, what is this? The Pontiac.
Campbell, the backup quarterback, and there he is. And they also have a rookie, Bubby Brister, who's number 3.
Malone 4 of 12, 31 yards, 1 sack.
Broncos have it at their own 17-yard line. We're in the first minute of the second quarter. Al Michaels and Frank Gifford with you from Pittsburgh. As Sammy Winder breaks it past the 20, has the first down, and gets out to the 33-yard line. Sammy Winder, Southern Mississippi, 5th-round choice in '82.
Got a couple of guards out in front of it. Ken Lanier, Mark Cooper. Good block over in the left side by Ken Lanier. Springs Winder out for a nice pickup out to the 32-yard line.
1st and 10. Winder and Lang are the running backs. Sampson goes in motion to the same side as Watson, and they give it to Winder, and he has a nice hole through the middle on a trap block. At the 40-yard line, there's a flag down. In fact, there are 2 flags down, and at least one of the calls is holding. The other was thrown into the pile at the 40-yard line. And it's a face mask against Pittsburgh. So holding against Denver, face mask against the Steelers. Here's McElwee.
5-yard face mask foul on the defense, number 34. Holding against the offense. Penalties offset. Replay the down.
Down to be replayed.
Holding is on 64 offense.
That's Billy Bryan. We understand we're on backup audio at the moment, and that's obviously in the process of being rectified. Put another quarter in the slot, would you?
Get another plumber up here. I think I can almost hear you.
1st and 10 from the 32-yard line. Elway firing it. Then Sampson, he takes it at the 40 and gets it to the 42 and very close to a first down.
Now, we talked about a strong arm. You saw it right there. Elway just whipping that ball. He has one of the strongest arms I think I've ever seen. That was a little short out, and he just had it on a line all the way. And got it. No question.
An official's timeout here for the change to be brought in. The thing about Elway, he was a great star in high school in Southern California, highly recruited, went to Stanford and continued their great quarterback tradition. And they knew he was going to be a star from the outset. There was never any question as a freshman. As you can see, they're just shy of the first down, but Elway went to the farm, as they call it, at Palo Alto with glowing credentials, and he certainly didn't disappoint.
You can watch him grow up, as we have over the past 4 years. He came up sort of a wide-eyed kid with great raw talent. Danny Reeves kind of took him under his arm, nurtured him along, and all of a sudden he has become a kind of a quarterback that reads much more quickly. He knows where to, he can take a look at a pass pattern and see it develop. He can make his quick reads that he couldn't do a couple of years ago, and he's better this year than he was last year. And more than that, he's become a leader on this team. Unanimously voted the captain of this team offensively.
Let's see what he does on 2nd and inches, and he keeps it on the ground where Winder picks up the first down. Sammy gets it out to the 46-yard line. And so the Broncos are on the move. 12 minutes, 35 seconds remaining in the first half. A scoreless half thus far in Pittsburgh.
And Danny Reeves is getting what he wanted to have happen. Again, Studdard, left guard, Keith Bishop, the right guard. They're leading on the opposite side as Winder follows the blocking and gets the first down out of the 46-yard line. And this is what Danny Reeves wanted to do, and highly unusual. They're moving the ball with ease now on the ground against the Steelers.
And he has Watson in motion, going back the other way. So he and Sampson are on the same side, and coming across was Gerald Williams, the rookie out of Auburn.
Encroachment, number 98, defense, still first down.
You might say, why do coaches like to run the football? Well, if you don't follow this game, it's quite simple. If you can run the football, you literally can do just about what you want with it. It means you can slow down any kind of a pass rush if the defensive linemen are thinking, well, I've got to watch the run, I've got to play my position. And more than that, you can come back with a play action, faking the run and going to the receiver. You can do just about what you want to do if you can establish that running game. So we kid about it, but it is the effective thing in this game still today.
Back to the basics. 1st and 5, and Winder has it go through his hands. Elway gets dropped as the pressure was put on that time by Keith Gary out of Oklahoma. And again, another error on the receiver.
You've got to catch these, and Elway's had about 5 of them now. Robin Cole, by the way, in there on the hit. Robin Cole probably lost in the outside linebacking fame of Brian Hinkle and Mike Merriweather, but since he's moved inside, he's become a fine linebacker.
Just for baseball, there'll be a lot of E3s thus far. Elway's been on target.
Oh, that's that pass again. He whips it out there.
It's Watson. And Watson is close to a first and has it. And that's the 300th catch of Steve Watson's career.
Look what he puts on that. Great form. Just fires it in there. Uses the body. Harvey Clayton, not bad coverage, but that ball was there in an instant. You can be covering the receiver well. If you've got a quarterback that can gun it like that, he's going to beat you in most occasions. And Elway loves to force that ball in there. He's getting a little more coy about it, but he'll still try to get it in there.
1st and 10 from the 43-yard line. Draw. Winder, he gets 2, takes it to the 41-yard line as we come down to the 11-minute mark, and David Little is in on the tackle for the Steelers.
David Little alternates with Dennis Winston at that strong inside left side linebacker position.
He was the leading tackler on the team in 1985. Brother Larry, of course, played guard for the Dolphins.
and well.
Very. 2nd and 8. With Sewell going in motion, Elway rolling, throwing, wide open at the 31-yard line, the tight end, Clarence Kay.
Well, that was all arm. He was under tremendous pressure, being pursued by Keith Gary, sort of a designated pass rusher for the Steelers. Take a look at him, 92. Elway with a little fake. Gary steps inside the block, and Elway just whips it on the dead run. Didn't even turn his body to set up, and gets it out to Kay. He's impressive, Al. Every time you watch him, he gets better.
In his 4th season, he's picked up a first down, and he gives on an inside handoff to Lang over the right side, inside the 30 to the 28-yard line. 2nd down and 7 as Mike Merriweather makes the tackle. Merriweather in his 4th year out of Pacific.
And one of the best. He's not big at 6'2" and 215. But he is by far and away the best pass rushing linebacker the Steelers have. A couple of years ago, he had 15 sacks. They eased off on it a little last year, but they are using him in a little more of an aggressive way this year.
2nd and 7 now as the Broncos have mounted their most impressive drive, and it's Gary Dunn pointing across the line and saying that he was drawn off.
67 defense, and still 2nd down.
McElwee says not a good enough acting job.
Twice now the Steelers have been drawn up. You wonder maybe Billy Bryan might have a little something going in there. Maybe a little extra grunt. A little strategy played out in the middle of that offensive line. A lot of funny little noises. And a lot of references to your ancestry. All those things taking place down there. A lot of hot breath. It's a place not to be, is what I'm trying to say.
The trenches. 2nd down and 2 at the 23. Winder gets a couple. It's Gene Lang. Lang getting close to the first down at the 21-yard line. Lang slightly shaken up earlier, but missed only a couple of plays. And out of Louisiana State, where he did a lot of blocking down there. He was a couple of years ahead of Dalton Hilliard and Gary James, but really didn't make his mark as a rusher. But Dan Reeves liked him, liked what he saw of him. They drafted him in the 11th round in '84. And here he is in the starting lineup. 1st and 10 at the 21-yard line. As Elway has a lot of time, throws, open is Watson, and Watson is there for the touchdown.
That was beautiful. Watson and Sampson both lined up over the left side. They both ran what appeared to be post patterns, and Watson really sold it to the defensive back covering him, which was Harvey Clayton. He sold a post pattern all the way. Elway gives him a little pump fake. 81 is Watson now. Drive to the inside, even looked to the inside, and he spun Clayton right around. And again, it's that strong arm. Clayton got back into it. He recovered well, but Elway had it on a string, zipped it out there. There are not many people who can run that pattern, and there are not hardly anyone who can throw the football on that kind of a line.
Rich Carlos's extra point is perfect. And so Watson, who will really have to pick up the slack in the absence of Johnson, and a man who caught a touchdown pass last week, does it again tonight. 7-0 Denver.
Well, what do you know? Brand new Pontiac Grand Am. Got the injected 3-liter V6, the aero skirts, composite headlamps, sports suspension, the special buckets, the big analog gauges, the whole enchilada.
Yeah, you big ham. You own one hot car.
Around here, raisins are big business. So when Kellogg started putting 2 scoops of raisins in the Raisin Bran, I knew we had problems. It's simple. It's the law of raisins. You put 2 scoops in each box. You sell more boxes. Bam! Raisin shortage. I respect Kellogg's, but that's a lot of raisins. You know what I tell people? You got a backyard? Plant raisins.
Fiber-rich Kellogg's Raisin Bran. 2 scoops is a lot of raisins.
Nobody but General Motors offers so many deals on so many 1986 cars for so many people. The big one. Choose 2.9 annual percentage rate GMAC financing on all new 1986 GM cars and most light-duty trucks. And slash your monthly payments. Or choose rebates up to $1,500 depending on make or model selected. The big one. Only from General Motors.
The Cincinnati Bengals, guided by the hot hand of Boomer Esiason. The Cleveland Browns. Bernie Kosar hopes he can match the firepower. An ABC Thursday night NFL special.
In Pittsburgh, Al Michaels and Frank Gifford with you. 10 plays in a drive that consumed more than 6 minutes, and a 21-yard touchdown pass from Elway to Watson. Denver on top 7-0 as Rich Carlos kicks off for the Broncos. Donnie Elder is back to receive, and he takes it a yard in, and he'll come out with it. To the chagrin of the crowd, you could hear the collective groan, and they were right. He takes it back only to the 13-yard line as you look at Watson's catch again.
Well, it's a little fake now. Elway will pump, take a quick look. Watson has given him a look as if he's going to turn to the post, breaks it back out against Harvey Clayton, had Clayton spun completely around. And the man who is very responsible for getting Denver in position to get that 21-yard touchdown is Sammy Winder. Some nifty run and a couple of very fine first down runs.
So the Steelers trying to generate something offensively. 1st and 10 from their own 14-yard line. 7:50 to go in the half. 7-0 Broncos. Pollard. And that nets only a couple. So the Steelers shut out last week, and they've been shut out now for in excess of 83 minutes. Mecklenburg makes the tackle.
He's everywhere. Mecklenburg lining up here at linebacker, going down the line of scrimmage, staying out of the traffic, and then stepping into the hole as it develops and getting in there for the stop. And Frank Pollard gets a couple of yards out of that. We mentioned earlier the damage to Joe Montana, the 49ers' back was not as extensive as it was thought it was going to be. Surgery today, and at halftime we're going to be talking to 49er head coach Bill Waltz, and he has talked with the orthopedic surgeon, and we'll get a full report then.
Play action, and Malone has Stallworth open and overshoots him at the 30-yard line. Stallworth was there. Harden hit him. The pass was too high, and the crowd is ready for Campbell.
Crowd didn't like it. John Stallworth, of course, one of the heroes around here for many a year, and he took quite a shot. Was up for the ball, and Mike Harden put one right on him, and that one's one that could have attracted a flag. It was late, right up into the chops.
Third down, 7.
Stallworth has adapted out of the role of the underneath man rather well. He used to be the deep fly man in the days of Terry Bradshaw, but now with Lips taking it deep, Stallworth has a whole new career working underneath.
Malone on 3rd down, and that one is in and out of the hands of Weegee Thompson, who was covered by Louis Wright.
Wright's having a big night. They keep going against him, and he's always there. Been around a while, 12 years. Started out at Bakersfield College, as a matter of fact. Went off to San Jose State with a 9.6 sprinter, so he could lose a couple of steps and make up for it with the experience, and he's done that. And again, but that's a ball that should have been caught. A lot of drop balls tonight on the part of both ball clubs.
Malone is 4 out of 14 as Wilhite gets ready to accept the kick at his own 34. Newsom's kick, deep but not very high, and a run back for Wilhite, but he slips down. That's a break for the Steelers because you get a little bit more room as he takes it back to the 45-yard line. A look there at Louis Wright, whose Broncos lead 7-0, 6:51 to go in the half. Still drawn a blank offensively this year, at least tonight. Well, a moral victory of sorts. Anderson did attempt a field goal.
And Malone has had a lot of drops tonight, as had Elway. Why, I don't know. It's not excessively warm that you would have damp hands from the humidity or the sweat.
1st and 10 from the 45, and it's knocked down, and it's knocked down by the face of Merriweather. He came in with his hands up.
He took it right in the face mask. Merriweather, they are using him a little more in the blitz now this year. There he is, number 57, and he just caught it right in the face. Shocked him more than anything, I believe. But they got away from him a little bit with the blitz a year ago after 15 blitzes in 1984. And now they are using him much more. And at least they plan to this season.
Second down and 10 as Elway on the draw gives it to Sammy Winder out to the 49-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 6, and that's Keith Gary. And here's a man who could play a key part this year if he can give the Steelers the pass rush that was so lacking at times in 85.
He was a #1 draft pick a few years ago, went off to Canada to play a couple of years, came back 1983, and he is kind of their designated pass rusher. Keith Gary, they bring him in when they drop into their 4-man, which they are playing a lot of this evening.
Flag was thrown, and McElwee indicating second down. And 20 back at the 35-yard line on a holding call.
Had a whole lot of folks changing in the Denver huddle as they get long yardage. We get Lang back in, good receiver out of the backfield. He stays in there with Winder.
Watson split left, and Sampson is wide to the right. Elway rolling, looking for Sampson. He comes back, but the pass is thrown away. Sampson couldn't get free, and so Elway just threw it away. He was chased by Nelson.
That's what I mean about Elway growing up. Elway probably, as a rookie or in his second year, would have tried to force that in there. He felt he had to do it all, had to live up to everything that was said about him. His great career at Stanford. That time, he very wisely did not have a receiver he could get it into safely, so he just dumped it off and kept the drive alive. 3rd and long, sure, but at least he didn't turn it over.
Been a good weekend already for the Elway family. Father Jack, the head coach at Stanford, and his Cardinal took care of the Texas Longhorns 31-20 on Saturday. 3rd down and 20. 3 wide receivers sent to the right side, and it's Elway going over the middle to Sampson at the 47-yard line, but well shy of the first down. They had a 3rd and 20, and it's a 4th down and 7, and they'll have to kick it away with 5:52 to play in the half.
Conservative call, but you don't turn it over. You get it to Sampson, hoping you can break the tackle, get it out with about a 12-yard reception, then hope he can break off the run and get the first down. But what you don't do is you don't turn it over.
That's Rick Woods back to receive. And Jack Wheel to punt it away. Good high spiraling kick. Fair catch is called for, but Woods lets it bounce, and it will come back out to the 20-yard line. So let's see if the Steelers...
What did I do?
And Malone can get things going.
It was an artistic success, but it wound up as a touchback.
Cincinnati and Cleveland in the Battle of the Buckeye State. Boomer Esiason and the Bengals coming from behind, winning in overtime yesterday over Jim Kelly and the Bills. And then next Monday, the Bears escaping yesterday with an overtime win over Philadelphia, 2-0, still minus McMahon against the Packers, who are really staggering. First down from the 20-yard line. Screen is set up, and the one-hand catch is not made by Pollard.
Well, on a screen, you're supposed to invite the defense to come on in. When they pass the offensive line, you dump it over them. But when you invite Mecklenburg in there, he'll take everything with him. He pressured Malone into an early screen. He got in there a little too tight, right in Malone's face, and we get the incompletion because that screen was really well set up.
Second down and 10.
That could have been a big play.
Looked like it was catchable, but still not a very good pass thrown by Malone as Pollard had to reach for it. And there are Malone's numbers, dastardly, through 2 games. Second down and 10 from the 20-yard line. Stallworth, and it's ruled incomplete, fortunately for the Steelers.
How to lose friends at their wide receivers, and you're a quarterback putting the ball up that high to a wide receiver because he knew he was going to get popped. Had a wide open John Stallworth who went up for it, and he took the shot from Mike Harden. Let's take a look at it again. And they are just dropping a lot of footballs tonight.
That's 6 consecutive incomplete passes.
Harden and Lilly, they really sandwiched Stallworth.
3rd down and 10, Steelers from their own 20. Denver ahead 7-0, 5 minutes to go in the half. Malone throws over the middle and nearly has it picked off. In and out of the hands of Ken Woodard, the linebacker. And listen to the crowd.
He'll hear him now. Tough. He'll be playing for years as a quarterback with Pittsburgh in the shadow of Terry Bradshaw, who did it all and did it all so well. Ken Woodard gets into this and should have picked it off. Number 52, the Denver linebacker, and it'll bring out the punting unit.
Malone is 4 out of 17 for 31 yards, coming off a 9 out of 27 week. Newsom's kick, Wilhite accepts it at the 34-yard line, and it's a 10-yard run back as he brings it to the 44. 7-0 Denver with 4:47 to play in the first half. And coming up on CFA College Football, a couple of regional battles for you this Saturday as the Trojans, off their win against Illinois, take on the Baylor Bears, 9th ranked, or Clemson taking on Georgia between the hedges in Athens. And college football today begins at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Elway and the Broncos on first down. Lang, gain of 2, 2nd down and 8 out at the 46.
Denver coming right back to the ground game. They used it very successfully on their drive that took them in for the touchdown, even though they had the Elway to Watson combination to get the score. They moved it on the ground very well in that drive, and they're coming right back with it.
2nd and 8 at the 46-yard line. 4:15 remaining in the first half.
Safety blitz.
Elway off Lang's hands and incomplete. Blitz was on as Hinkle covered on the play.
But there's one thing that John Elway has not captured yet as a pro quarterback, and that is to take something off that ball a little bit. He can sting your hands, and he often does just that. And Lang had a little bit of a edge on the linebacker that was covering him on that defensive maneuver that was a safety blitz. He was 1 for 1, but Elway just had too much on it to handle.
Which quarterback had the best touch you ever witnessed?
I'll tell you, it's hard to beat Dan Marino right now. And real touch, Montana. They're different quarterbacks.
3rd and 8. Elway underthrows it, intended for Sampson, and he was covered by Donnie Elder.
Probably does not throw that out to the right as well as he does to the left. Let's take a look at it again. Sampson taking it down, selling it to Donnie Elder, who was just picked up from the Jets at the beginning of the season. They let him go. Elder in there defensively for the Steelers, but it's hard to throw to your right because you really throw to with your arm unless you turn your body and then get the follow through. Elway gets it naturally when he throws to the left, so he underthrew that ball.
Jack Wheel standing at his 30. You saw Woods back at his own 15. Not much distance and a fair catch, and it's made at the 24-yard line by Woods. And Malone will stay in there. And how much longer can Noel afford to go with Malone the way things are going, Frank?
Well, he doesn't really have much of a choice. I think he certainly does not want to totally shatter a very fragile ego. And Mark Malone took quite a hammering in Seattle a week ago when he was 9 of 27. Chuck Noll went all the way with him, stayed with him. He's very patient, Chuck Noll. That's one of his great virtues, and you need it in coaching. He's a fine teacher, but behind him is a 6-foot quarterback named Scott Campbell, a rookie behind him, Bobby Brister. Who do you go to? Malone has proved in the past that he can do it.
1st and 10, and it's off the hands of Pollard.
Somebody broke that pattern, pure and simple. Pollard was right in front of the other Steeler receiver. And they don't line up like ducks in this game. There it is. Lips had set into a hitch. Pollard moved right into the pattern, set up right in front of it. I think that Malone was looking for Lips, number 83. Here he is. And Pollard got right into the pattern. Could have been a disaster. Deflected and picked off.
8 consecutive incompletions, 3:54 to go in the half. Denver ahead 7-0.
And that was not Malone's fault, nor have been the drops.
2nd and 10 from the 24-yard line. Complete to the 35, and a Bronx cheer in western Pennsylvania on the catch by Stallworth.
Stallworth working against Steve Wilson. Steve Wilson, 5'10". Wasn't bad coverage. Former Dallas Cowboy found a home in Denver. Stallworth driving. Wilson right with him too long. The official could have dropped the flag on that if he wanted to. Only can make that contact for 5 yards. Wilson went for about 12 with it.
1st and 10 from the 36-yard line. Malone throws, and he hits Stallworth again at the 49-yard line, and he really gets racked up. Hundley is right there, along with Steve Wilson.
They pay the price, those wide receivers. They turn it back inside, and you get it in there a little slowly. They know they're going to get a shot. And the good ones, they're the ones that hold on to it year in and year out, just like this one. John Stallworth again. Wilson is the man they're working against. Stallworth knew he was going to get that shot. Holds on and gets the first down in midfield.
2:35 to go in the half. As we come down to the end of the half, the Steelers have 2 timeouts remaining, and it's Ehrenberg. And that sort of stops the flow of this drive momentarily. It'll be 2nd down and 9 with the ball right at the 50-yard line. That's Darren Como in on the tackle.
You got to run him once in a while to keep him semi-honest. Pittsburgh really relying on their passing game now here in the late moments of the first half, but you got to keep it on the ground once in a while, at least to keep those defensive linemen from thinking nothing but pass.
Meanwhile, we'll see if they can get the play off before the 2-minute warning, and they, I don't think, do. Can you believe that? They line up, and it wasn't as if they were waiting for the 2-minute warning. They were unaware of exactly what the clock was saying as it rolled down to exactly 2, and the snap was made, but it was too late. 7-0 Denver. Clock. Couldn't get it off. He's got 2 timeouts remaining. The ball is at the 50-yard line. His club trails 7-0. It's 2nd down, 10 at midfield. He's got Stallworth wide left, Lips wide to the right. Malone going deep for Lips. Double covered, tipped, and volleyball away. Louis Wright covering on the play, along with Dennis Smith.
Kind of a wasted play. You have to have a check off there. They had double coverage all the way. Louis Wright in great position. Dennis Smith, a Pro Bowl safety man, had lined up. They had him covered inside out. Malone just threw the ball up in the air. He actually was throwing the ball away, but he almost had it picked off. But it's a ball where you don't throw. You come into an underneath man, keep something alive, get something out of it. He knew as soon as he looked up this was going to be double coverage. He couldn't have missed it. 49 and 20, they're there. You got to find somebody else.
3rd down and 10. Steelers' deepest penetration tonight was the 32-yard line, whence they missed a 50-yard field goal attempt by Anderson. Malone throwing underneath, and it's incomplete, intended for Rich Ehrenberg.
And another drop. They would have been short of the first down, but again, another drop for Malone. Maybe understandable, and Ehrenberg was really questionable coming in tonight. He had a slightly separated shoulder of a week ago, and obviously the man who forced Malone to go to Ehrenberg is John Stallworth, and Malone is jawing on him right there.
That wasn't a smile right there. He came off grinning before. Newsom, the punt. With 1:40 to go in the half, it's Wilhite at the 14, and he takes it back out to the 18-yard line. So Denver will begin its drive from there. You know, Frank, you mentioned, and you're right, you're dealing with a fragile ego. You've got Malone, he's your guy, but you know, if you're Noel and you go back into that locker room right now, you're looking at a game and a half and you've been shut out and you've really got nothing going. He's got to start thinking about, at least thinking about Campbell.
Well, they were struggling their final preseason game against the Giants. They have been struggling right along, but nevertheless, I think that when you think about what you do to your #1 quarterback, if you pull him out of there, it becomes, well, how do you trade off? Trade off hurting him and maybe really ruining his season for him. And do you have really the strength to go to on the bench? And I don't think they have it on Scott Campbell or Bobby Brister, the rookie.
1st and 10 from the 19-yard line, and over the middle it's Watson, and he has a first down on a 12-yard pickup. And the Broncos have all of their timeouts left, and they spend their first right here. That stops the clock. Denver has it 1st and 10 at its own 31-yard line with 1 minute and 25 seconds to play in the first half. Well, quarterbacks, the topic tonight, with Elway, one of the best in the league and on his way to becoming maybe as good as they've been. And Malone having his troubles tonight. And, of course, the other story this weekend is Montana. And we'll be talking to Bill Walsh, the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, at halftime. So there's Elway, a man who, well, he grew up with a coach. His father, a high school coach, and then a college coach at Cal State Northridge. And remember when John was recruited by Stanford, there were some rumors at the time that maybe his father would come along and get the job. And isn't it ironic that Elway went through his whole career at Stanford, mainly under the tutelage of Paul Wiggin, and then John leaves and his father does get the Stanford job.
Quite a family, too. I've had an opportunity to meet them. Very involved in a lot of community affairs on the Bay Area, as you well know, Al. And they have to be proud of this genetic marvel, because he is that. He is one of the fine arms, and as I said earlier tonight, he just keeps improving almost with every game. Got the size for it. He's 6'3", he's 210, got the head for it, he's got the mentality. There's something that burns inside this youngster that says, you're just not going to beat me.
From the 31-yard line, a little shovel pass a la Lee Grosscup to Steve Sewell, who takes it just about back to the line of scrimmage.
Hurry up offense. They've called a couple of plays in the huddle, just on the thought that it would not pick up good yardage.
Shotgun, 2nd down, 9. And he rifles it to Wilhite, and Wilhite, I believe, has the first down. He stepped out right about the stripe.
Good read quickly by Elway. They were giving Elway that, so he took it. He has plenty of time. He has a couple of timeouts, so he took the 11-yard pickup, gets the first down, and also stops the clock. He read it right away, didn't fool around deep, because the Steelers were doubling both the wides deep.
2 timeouts remaining for the Broncos. 1st and 10 at the 41, 1:03 to play. First half. Shotgun. Elway, high throw and incomplete, intended for Sampson, and he was covered by Harvey Clayton, the corner.
Another one that could have been caught. It was high and a difficult catch, but it was certainly one that could have been caught. And Elway, I think, is blaming himself now. We'll look at it again. Sampson with the drive, making it look good. Clayton on the coverage, goes up, got his hands on it, but it's incomplete. Stops the clock, 58 seconds.
2nd and 10, Broncos from the 41-yard line. Sampson left and Watson right out of the gun.
Full blitz.
Gets it away, looking for Sampson. He's out in front, and he can't make the diving catch. Looked like he timed his dive perfectly. Hinkle popped Elway after he released it. The pass was there, but right off his fingertips.
The timing, Vance Johnson, the speedster who went out in the Raider game with the knee injury, would have been coming back for this one. Sampson has good speed, but he's not at the blazing speed of a Vance Johnson. Elway has worked all through training camp with Vance Johnson. He's worked in until this past week with Vance Johnson, and he put this pass up under tremendous pressure with a full safety blitz. Had it been Vance Johnson, I think you got 6 points. As it was a great effort by Clint Sampson. That timing is so important between the quarterback and the receiver, and you saw it right there.
3rd down, 10, Broncos. Sewell goes in motion from the 41-yard line. They send everyone into the pattern, including Wilhite, and Wilhite gets decked. And a nice play there by Clayton, who had to fend off the blocker. Billy Bryan was right there, and Clayton came barreling through.
Elway again wanted to go downfield. Has to settle for this. Gets Bryan in front of it. And a good play by Clayton, who it does appear as if the Denver Broncos are working on this evening.
5'9", 180 is he, taking care of a man at 6'2", 255.
Defense again for Pittsburgh. I mentioned earlier they were 2nd in the NFL against the pass a year ago. They were a good, strong defensive team all last year. They just couldn't put points up. They were 6th overall in the league a year ago. They're playing well tonight.
Jack Wheel punting for the 6th time in the game. Rick Woods is back at his 20. And the clock has run out. As the crowd boos, they wanted the Steelers to take a timeout on defense, at least to have some sort of opportunity. And Chuck Noll figures, I better go back and come up with some new X's and O's for the 3rd period.